Okay, first shot will be no ambulance, and then it'll switch and there'll be a yellow ambulance on the scene. I want you to watch the EMT get out, the guy in orange, and he'll move over to the pole. There he is. Orange top, has a bag, puts it down. Okay, the EMTs are finally there. People can finally be treated. He hands a tissue to the guy on the ground with the bike helmet, the civilian. He hands a tissue. Is that the job of an EMT, to come on scene and administer a tissue to a civilian who's taking care of the injured? Watch this. Here's a tissue, Lance Armstrong. Are you kidding me? Part 2, Loitering Girlfriends. Now this is the whole scene. See that car, bottom left, the silver car? Look to your left. There's a girl, it'll focus in a moment, a girl in a white coat. They both have black purses. It'll focus in here in a moment. The girls talking to each other. Again, this is after a terrorist bombing. There's carnage all over, but they're on Facebook there. Now one girl goes under the parking awning. It leaves the other girlfriend. You can still see her in the white coat and the black bag, just standing in the middle of everyone. EMTs are like bumping into her. Why wouldn't you, of course, just stand around in the middle and get in everyone's way? It makes perfect sense to me. Okay, now she gets some sense. Go talk to your girlfriend. She's got a cool cat video to show you, I think. Don't try to help or do anything. And okay, what's that hand signal? Very strange. I don't know what this is. You just got to see it. Okay, yeah. All right, now it's time for you to play your role. Take your scarf off, and you want to hand that scarf over to Mr. Fireman when he needs it. He's going to use that scarf to save lives. There you go. Hand it to the fireman. Okay, apply that scarf to a head wound. Here we go. Now it's time for you to play your part. Hand the scarf to the fireman. He's going to use it to save lives. Now get out of there. Okay, we're going to spot the woman wearing all brown. Here she comes down. I think it's a black woman, red shirt, all brown, purse. She's just kind of standing behind the fireman now. I'll show this to you again. She kind of takes her scarf off, but she's going to deliver the blessed hanky to the woman in red. Okay, watch this. Take the hanky. Go ahead. Give it to the woman in red. Thank you. Lives can now be saved. Get lost. Come on. Watch this. Watch. Here she comes. Deliver the hanky. Oh, okay. Now we can save lives with it. Now get lost. Here she comes down. Passes girlfriends. She's taking her scarf off. I think she thinks she's playing the scarf role, but the girlfriend just handed the scarf to the fireman. So she's, oh no, I remember now. I deliver the blessed hanky to the woman in red. Watch this. There you go. Now get lost, honey. Are you kidding? Behind the door to the ambulance there, it's an open door, is the worst EMT in history. He just put his jacket on, his yellow jacket. Now the ambulance has been there for some time. Trust me, the ambulance has been there. He's just putting his jacket on now. This is a terrorist carnage scene, folks. He's got to put his jacket. Here he comes, just wanders out, looks around. Remember what you're seeing here, folks. A terrorist bombing just supposedly happened. Okay? This isn't... Okay, let me show you the close-up. He puts his jacket on, but he's putting it... I mean, that van did not just get there. It's been there a while. Okay? This is a terrorist aftermath carnage. This is not Boy Scouts that cut themselves. Okay, there's no EMT that would be this casual in this situation. He isn't even doing anything. He's just going to stand around. Let's do an easy one, the GQ student. This guy has to, instead of taking the empty street to get to class, he walks right through the middle of the active triage scene. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. I'll show you the street is empty. He could just go out into the street, avoid all the carnage and blood. Instead, he walks right through the middle of all the activity because he's fulfilling a role. Look at the top. See this, the guy with the black leather jacket and the strap, the white strap and the bag with the jeans on? Here he comes. He's going to pass the guy in red right now. Just walks right through. The woman in red passes her. He's got to get to class, and he's going to take his favorite sidewalk. Going to walk right through the blood and the carnage. Just don't stop to help. Just keep on moving through. Now, I'm just showing you this again because the street is empty. Think if you came upon terrorist carnage. Wouldn't you go out in the street and leave the EMTs alone? Okay, this next section is just so I identify the right person. Look at the ambulance door open and then follow it to the middle of the sidewalk. Open ambulance door. Look at the woman in the middle of the sidewalk, a rescue worker, all in blue. She's carrying something, white woman, red scarf around her neck. See her there in the middle of the sidewalk? That's who we're going to focus on. Woman in red standing up. She's right behind her. That's who we're going to focus on here. There she is. Woman all in blue, white stripe across, talking to the man in gray. That's who we're going to focus on. This is how the scene starts. See? Okay, here she comes. Walking down. She's holding something, walking down. She doesn't know what to do. Okay, this is a terrorist bombing. Remember. Okay, well, can I help here? No. Woman in red's just doing everything. Go to the guy in blue. What do I do? What do I do? Where do I go? Well, go into the subway, of course. There's the explosion. There's carnage in there. Go. But just a few seconds later, she comes back out doing nothing. Well, isn't there a lot of carnage in there? An EMT worker after a terrorist bombing has nothing to do? Let's get back to the meat of the matter. All this activity and hustle and bustle over like a tiny little cut on this guy's leg. Watch this. We have Lance Armstrong with the bike helmet there administering, you'll see it in a close up in a second, administering his little hanky to this guy's leg. Lance Armstrong and the bike helmet. They're the girlfriends we looked at over there on the right. It's just a little tiny leg wound. Now watch all the activity around this guy. Now there is another person that they put there. So see his legs bare, sitting up. So he's sitting up. How injured could this guy be sitting up against a car? Well, I just want to show you all the hustle and bustle activity around these two people that don't even look hurt. So here comes the woman in red running in. There's two EMTs standing around, and the fireman's in there. Well, wouldn't the fireman back off? He's a fireman, and the EMTs would get in there. Well, all this hustle and bustle. The woman in red's now down on her knees, and now we got the guy in blue. They're standing around, and there's more people coming in. Here comes the sacred hanky. He hands the scarf to him. All this hustle and bustle. Here comes the guy in blue. They're there, folks, to cover it up. They're there so you really can't see. Like that. You really can't see what's going on. That's their purpose. In Miraculous Recovery, we turn a terrorist bombing victim into a helper. Now look at the ambulance. The door is open to the ambulance. Follow the open. There's a man in blue. I know you can't see much here. We'll focus in a moment. The man in blue is kind of rendering assistance to people sitting along the edge of the curb. The people sitting along the edge of the curb are victims or supposed victims. One person gets their head wrapped. There'd be no other reason for them to be sitting along the edge of the curb. So we're going to focus in on one particular guy here who's supposedly a victim who becomes a helper and a care renderer in the next scene. Okay, there's a guy in a blue shirt through the window of the open ambulance door. See his left arm pointing? He's pointing at the guy we want to focus on. The guy we want to focus on is sitting on the curb with the other victims. He's got a bald head. He's kind of looking up now at the ambulance door. Looks like he's got like a bluish mitten or glove on his right hand. You'll see he gets up here. Watch him get up from the curb, ambulance door. There he goes. He gets up, backpack. He kind of walks back. Now the victims are along the curb. One person's getting their head wrapped. These are victims along the curb. Okay, well, I guess he just hurt his hand. He's out of here. He's got to go home and rest up, I guess. He's just a victim, and now he's going to go home. Oh, look back, but go home, go home. But what do we find? We find this guy just up the street there rendering assistance to another victim who's sitting on the curb. And he's just going to play in her hair. I think he's looking for ticks or head lice or something like that. What you've all been waiting for, the woman in red. I call her the red butterfly. She floats around, she treats patients, she does this, she does that, but what she really does, if you watch carefully, is a whole lot of nothing. Here she comes down the middle of the sidewalk, full red coat, can't miss her. Go over to the curb. Okay, let's see if I can help this woman out. Okay, get in there. Now, she's not dressed like an EMT. I guess someone yelled, "Is there a doctor in the house?" Oh, no, back this way. Let's get over. Treat this guy with a little leg wound. Get in there. He's got a little tiny leg wound. Get in there. Now, take the scarf off the biker's neck. Watch, take the scarf off the biker's neck. Get the scarf in there. A scarf is incredibly useful. Watch this. She takes the scarf off of Lance Armstrong's head to treat the tiny little flesh wound. Now she's on the other side of the pole here, woman in red. She barks out orders. She gives directions. I mean, she is just literally, she should have been the Celebrity Apprentice. She's one of the most competent women I've ever seen. Hand signals. Who's getting those hands? Okay, take the tissue. Okay, get in there. Get in there. Look at these hand signals. It's totally bizarre. Watch for the flossing. That's the flossing signal. Floss. Don't forget to floss. Look at this. What? It's so strange. Now, of course, that leads us to the famous scarf trifecta, where three scarves they attempt to use three scarves to treat a little tiny flesh wound on the leg that a guy's holding a hanky on, as we've already seen. So first we have the woman in red taking the scarf off the neck of Lance Armstrong. There you go. Now we have one of our girlfriend there standing around with a scarf, hands it to the fireman. That's another scarf. And the woman all dressed in brown here, watch her neck. She undoes her scarf to try to get her scarf involved. Just as a reminder, all that activity and running around for a guy with a little tiny leg wound who Lance Armstrong is applying a tissue to. Let's not forget. Let's take a break. Nothing could be as weird as that woman in red. Let's look at the blue backpacker. See the silver cars kind of parked underneath? The guy in the white coat just standing around. He's looking down the sidewalk. He's got jeans on. We're going to look at him in just a moment. Just kind of standing around, just pedestrian. I mean, he's not an EMT. He's not... Here he is, standing, white coat, just standing there looking down. But then we see him to your left at the first pole with the fireman. He's with his blue backpack standing in front of that second guy. He's got his arm up in the air. He's calling for some assistance. Then he gives somebody a tissue here. Look, he pulls his bag out. The guy, I think he hands a tissue to the fireman. He takes the direction and the orders. There, the fireman calls for something, and then he hands over a tissue, which he picked up off the ground, I think, and put your bag back on. Look, the guy's there to block your view, so you really can't see what's going on. As in any good production, you need people standing around doing absolutely nothing. Look to your far left, person on your left, just standing around there. There's many of these people we will observe and notice. Here comes our GQ guy at the bottom we saw before walking by with his bag, and he doesn't, he could have walked out into the street that was completely open and blocked off, but he had to walk right through the middle of and we kind of, I guess we get habituated to this. We've seen it so much. Remember, this is after a terrorist bombing. No one would get close to the scene. Now, bystanders at the bottom, see those three guys just kind of hanging out, standing around. There's just doing nothing. Guy to the far left just doing nothing on his phone, just hanging out. Hey, you got to have these types of people on the scene. Now this guy, the far left, look who it is. That's the Asian guy. That's the Asian guy from the Running Man, the We See Running Man video. I swear that's the Asian guy. I mean, look, I can't say for sure, but this guy, I believe, is popped up here in this scene also. To me, that is the Asian guy with the bag from the Running Man scene. The guy that takes off running, and the guy that's positioned with, with the hurt wrist next to the guy with the bloody face with the oxygen mask. That's him. What do you think? This isn't 100%, but I have a theory about this. The guy on the left on the cell phone by the pole, standing there by the first victim with the little leg wound, all in black. We're going to look at his shoe. Now look at the pole. You can see from afar he's standing there on the phone. Okay, look at the fireman, the back of the fireman, big yellow square. Look at the fireman's left foot. Okay, go down his left leg. It's all in black, left foot. There's a guy, a victim, leaning up, sitting up against the front of that BMW. The victim's right shoe is right in front of the fireman's left shoe. So we can see that shoe? I want you to concentrate on the look of that shoe. The victim's sitting against the BMW with his knees bent, all in black, and look at the look of that shoe. Isn't that the same shoe? Look at the guy on the left. Isn't that the same shoe? Doesn't the guy on the left standing there maybe become the second victim? I think he becomes the second victim. Look at the shoe, again, in front of the fireman's left foot. Guy's going to walk in front. It's the same shoe, if you ask me. Look, I could be wrong, but this whole thing stinks to high heaven and is utterly ridiculous.